Hi, I'm Amber, and welcome to the MeatRx Success Story Podcast. Today we have Coach Cameron with us, and he's going to be telling us about his success story. Welcome, Cameron.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's get started. Tell us a little bit of what your life and your health was like prior to starting a meat-based diet.
Prior to going on a meat-based diet, I would say it could start probably about 10 years ago. I was about 17, 18 years old, kind of taking it that far back. And the reason I go back that far is that was about the time I actually started getting into basically getting healthy in general. Prior to that, I was, a typical teenager, ate lots of junk food, kind of did whatever I want type thing. No one could tell me what to do. I started getting into more health just because I was avid martial artist and I like to work out quite a bit. And so I wanted to get into, good nutrition that would really help me, get better, particularly as I was going into college. And so what I started doing, and ironically, as I was starting to get into more health-based mindset, trying to eat lots of healthy foods, I started having lots of just weird health issues that started creeping up that never came up really before. So it started really with my gut and my stomach, to where I was experiencing just like so often just cramping, bloating, just all sorts of different issues. And I know that my mother, on my mother's side, there's a kind of a long history of various types of either Crohn's or ulcerative colitis. It's kind of been a history on my mother's side of the family, and so I was wondering if that had if I was starting to get some of that. Because the issues were starting to get worse and worse, and I never took medications. It was something that, for the most part, I basically just kind of sucked it up and toughed it out and thought I could kind of think my way out of it, so to speak, that I would be able to find, whatever dietary strategy would work best for me. And so I constantly was trying different things, constantly trying to basically eat the foods that everyone was saying was so healthy. So, I was always eating tons and tons of vegetables, tons of fruits, healthy quote unquote grains, skim milk instead of full fat milk. Like, you could probably list off just the litany of all the things that are on the nutritionist like top 10 things you should be doing. I was doing all that and all more. But nothing was really helping. And I also started noticing like my teeth, like I'd never gotten cavities my whole life, but for some reason, like I was starting to get, worse teeth, and my weight was starting to creep up, even though I was working out a lot and I was trying to, improve my just performance overall. But it wasn't like my performance either was stagnant or it just, and like my weight was like creeping up. So I couldn't figure out what I was doing, and I was trying to, do all sorts of, different diets. And this started kind of plaguing me all the way through not only college, but into graduate school, into my first job, where, things just, they weren't getting better. And I was trying so many different things. I was trying, paleo diet, keto diet. I tried the Mediterranean diet for a short while, just never really liked that one at all. And I remember my job right out of grad school, I started trying, I figured it must be, my only thing that I came to was it had to have been maybe the meat. And so I tried going basically vegetarian, then I went vegan for I think I was there for 3 months, but I was, honestly, my health declined so bad, I had to give it up because I just felt so awful. Like, I started getting weird headaches for no apparent reason, and that's when I started getting this horrible bout of insomnia that lasted actually several years, where I was sleeping maybe 4 to 5 hours, a night, and I was just exhausted all the time. I mean, there's only so long you can really take that before you're just irritable all the time. And so, I mean, I always tried to keep, a positive attitude, try to keep my chin up. And again, I was always trying to find ways where I didn't start having to just basically medicate and go to the doctor for, any number of basically just sleep medications, plus, stuff for my gut, plus, whatever number of other things I could pull. And so, I was I basically, if you took me down your average supplement aisle at like a Whole Foods, I could probably point to like row by row all of the ones I had taken, everything from the various pills and probiotics and all the other things that they had. I've probably taken some variation of all of them. Having said that, nothing really helped. It just, at best, my symptoms kind of were like about even keel or like about the same as they were. And so nothing really helped. And so I was starting to get closer to like kind of my wit's end to a certain degree. Um, and that's actually when I first came across the meat only kind of carnivore diet. And the way I found out about it was actually, I don't remember how I stumbled on it, but I stumbled upon Dr. Baker's YouTube channel when he was first starting to publish videos about kind of his journey on the meat-based diet. Now, you can imagine, just like everyone else, my first surprise was there is no possible way this is going to work. Like every diet nutrition person out there would say this is complete garbage. There's no way this is going to work. Um, but what I really enjoyed, I guess, is he was very upfront, very kind of casual in the way he discussed things, and his knowledge. Everything he pointed to, I was able to go back and basically fact check what he's doing, and I had nothing I could really disagree with. Basically, just saying, yeah, he's not wrong. I mean, I see exactly what he's saying. And so it took several months of kind of basically just kind of puttering around, seeing if I wanted to really try it. But several years ago, I decided to give the meat only diet, a try. Um, and so since I guess that kind of leads me to the next part, which is when I first transitioned into carnivore, I basically just kind of ate anything that was animal of any type. So I tried, fish, chicken, pork, beef, lamb, anything that basically moved. Um, and over time, I would say I started finding kind of what more works for me and what I tend to prefer over time. Um, I would say, it started with a very, very big variety. Um, and then I think similar to what a lot of people start experiencing, they start kind of whittling down to more of what just fits best for them. For me, that was definitely more beef. I eat some lamb, occasionally, but I tend to prefer more beef, and I really like roasts and steaks and things like that. So that's what I tend to gravitate towards most of the time. Occasionally, I will have some fish, like if I go out with my family, go out to seafood restaurant or something like that. Definitely have some salmon and shrimp and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, tends to be what I stick to is mostly beef. I just tend to feel, better on that. Um, in terms of like actually transitioning to that diet, I would say because I'd been on more of a ketogenic type diet for a while, it wasn't as bad. Having said that, there was still, I do remember, there was various issues with, first it was kind of like, it felt like kind of a heart palpitation type thing. It was kind of scaring me a little bit, but that actually um, declined each time. So like each day it got better and better. To the end of the end of the first week, I was fine. Um, and the at first, like my sleep got started getting all out of whack, where like sometimes I was sleeping like full night, and then other nights I was barely sleeping at all. And so it wasn't like I was going through a complete insomnia like I was before, but it was starting to get all out of whack. It took about, I want to say, 3-ish weeks before it started really settling down and started just gradually getting better. So that was probably, I would say I was fully transitioned to, I want to say about a month and a half, maybe 2 months into it. And from that point, that's when I started really experimenting and going with, just focusing on either what foods I like the best and trying different, types of animal products. And so, and I tried a lot of different ones. Different people say, you got to have lots of salt, or you got to have organ meats. You got to, do this, that, and the other. And I tried organ meats. I could never get used to the taste of it. That's just me. I know plenty of people like them. I'm just not one of them. Um, and so, I dropped that. And part of, I guess, what helped me with that is, I listened to a lot of course, what Dr. Baker's discussions were with various, experts, and he talked with them about, using organ meats. And certainly, I know they can be very helpful for certain individuals, but they're not necessarily required. Yeah, yeah. And so for certain people, I certainly understand, wanting to go there. But I personally, even when I looked at like my own journey, when I even went on days where I ate pretty much just organ meats versus basically just regular store-bought meats, I really didn't notice that much of a difference, other than like one tasted a lot better than the other. And then the other thing I experimented with was, um, grass finished versus grain finished. And certainly I noticed a taste difference. I wouldn't say I particularly, I would say I slightly liked the grain finished taste a little bit better, than the grass finished. Uh, and so, my thoughts are just, whatever tastes better to you and what kind you can afford, because obviously grass finished is quite a bit more expensive. So if it doesn't make a huge difference to you, I just figure you don't have to. Don't do it. Just eat. Find a good, source at your local grocery store, and you'll be happy with it.
I
Um,
I would
and
agree with you there, Cameron. And I
yeah,
also agree with you on the organ meat part. Oh goodness. I wished I liked it. I don't. I've tried.
uh,
I've tried. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm
I
not lacking
know.
life vitamins, so I'm okay with that.
I know. And yes, there it is. Like, if you look at it from a nutrient chart, yes, the thing is dense and just everything you can think of. But and this is something that, again, my thoughts have changed a lot over time, particularly as I've been working, and having this meat-based diet, and then obviously doing lots of research, listening to Dr. Baker's, podcasts and things he's discussed, and really my thoughts on that have changed over time to be such that, just like a lot of blood markers that you can get at the doctor, nutrients have, they have their value, and there can be some use in looking at what you're taking in. But really, at the end of the day, I mean, if you're a lot more has to do with just how you feel day to day, because going along the lines of blood markers. So even when I was feeling just absolutely horrible, years ago, prior to going on the meat-based diet, um, I had gone in for blood tests. I'd taken, the full blood panel, and to be honest, the doctor at the time, when he looked at it, he was like, "Wow, you look amazingly healthy. Like, you must obviously be doing something." And I feel like telling him, "You got to be kidding me. I feel like I'm like on death's doorstep right now. What are you talking about?" And so, sort of that dichotomy in my mind is, it changes it, where yes, certain ones can have value, and if there starts to be a lot of risk factors that pop up over time, sure, you can look at that. But at the end of the day, just like nutrient values, I say, if you feel good, stick with that. Stick with what feels good for you. Now
Yes.
moving on. Now moving on to, sorry.
Uh, okay, well, okay, let's go ahead and get to the really good part about all the improvements. I want to know how things have changed for you. And
Mhm.
again, I'm still with you on the organ meat thing. Still with you there.
Yes. So at first it was kind of a slow cessation of my symptoms, but really after about that full transition period, I have to say I noticed a really big change to where I would say the first and probably just biggest change in my mind was the fact that I started sleeping through the night, and I was starting to get, at first it was kind of like I slept like a full 8 hours, and now I would say over time I'm sleeping less, but I feel equally or more energetic. Like I just don't need as much sleep as I used to, um, which is beneficial if for no other reason than I feel more productive during the day. I just get more stuff done. But that was probably the biggest thing because going through a long period where you're just not sleeping, it just, that stuff really wrecks you over time. But being able to get back to where I'm sleeping, regularly and consistently, I'm not having those issues anymore. That was a big, big change for me. In terms of my gut issues that I started having, I mean, those have gone away. I don't have any of those issues anymore. Which is, to be honest, one of the best things because, like I said, when I was younger, I was really worried that I was going to be kind of in the same situation as my mother, where she was dealing with Crohn's, and the I see that she has to take medications regularly for that. She had to get surgery at one point actually to um, get part of her intestines removed and stuff like that, and I just didn't want to be in that situation. And I feel very fortunate in that respect because now that I don't have those issues, I can live the rest of my life without those issues coming up. Other things, one of the big things that happened, I did notice a definite change, just in terms of my performance and body composition, relatively rapidly, where it was just much less of a task to basically drop the weight and then keep it off. Like it was prior to going on that diet, I was easily working out. I would say I was working out at least 6 days a week, upwards of like an hour and a half to 2 hours, a day. And that, I mean, those are some killer, days. But what I noticed is I don't have to work out near as long. And to be honest, I work out and exercise just because I enjoy doing so, rather than feeling like an obligation to where I've got to work off that whatever thing that I was doing before, and so I'm not either sprinting hard on the treadmill or lifting tons of weight just to do that. I do what I enjoy doing, which is a real benefit because there's a lot more freedom in that respect where you don't feel like you have to work out. You just do it because you want to. And the other thing that I noticed very rapidly was my just strength, and ability to recover just went up way, way quicker. Like I started seeing just gains in just strength and endurance and performance, like just overnight. I was starting to hit new personal records for things I was doing, and I it was really surprising just because I had done so many different workout programs that were, quote unquote, guaranteed to basically give you some kind of result. Um, and at first, I started coming to, the conclusion that, well, basically I'm just genetically screwed. It's just not gonna happen. Um, but because of moving to this diet, and really because of all the proteins and good meats that I was eating, things dramatically have been improving. So and I continue to work out pretty regularly just because I enjoy doing so. Um, and yeah, I mean, just in terms of other things I noticed, generally speaking, I feel mentally calmer most times. Like a lot of things that would kind of get me off during the day, or make me feel really, really anxious don't tend to bother me as much. So that was another thing that I noticed. And so yeah, I mean, in terms of general general feeling of wellness, I would say it was just a lot better, ever since transitioning. And the I guess the great thing that has been is the results continue to be happening and in some cases even getting better. So it's something that I don't think a lot of people have experienced, particularly when they go on any kind of diet, nutrition plan, or anything like that. I I can you can probably say 95% of the people going on any diet, the first things they'll say is like, of course I lost weight. Well, yes, you probably cut out a whole bunch of junk food. Like, yes, you're not eating pizza and candies and cookies. Great. Yes, you're going to lose some weight. Great. I will talk to you about a year and a half from now, and I want you to tell me how you're doing, because I can almost guarantee that whatever diet you stuck with, you had to modify the heck out of in order to keep it working. And chances are, and this is not just my experience, but I've seen it happen, unfortunately, because um, you do eventually you're going to run across someone who's gone on more of like a vegan or vegetarian or some kind of diet. I've seen those people when they go on those diets, and I see them and they go, oof. I mean, you say you're healthier, but I gotta say, I don't know what happened. It doesn't seem like it's working for you. um, Now compare that to not only what I saw in myself, but when I see so many of these other success stories, at the MeatRx platform, of people that not only did they get better, almost in some cases almost immediately following transition to this diet, but they're continuing to get better. That there are people that you know are continuing to feel healthier and healthier as the years goes on, which I think says something about it compared to a lot of other nutritional strategies people go on. So
Absolutely. I could not agree more with that. And the more I hear, the more I'm like, there is something to this.
yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so Cameron, since you are a MeatRx member, can you
Mhm.
tell us some benefits that you have noticed being a member? What do you tend to use the most? What do you find value in?
Mm. So there's a lot of things I find value in. So I mean, I really do. I love the fact that there is such this conglomeration of research around various types of how diet affects these different areas, and that was one of the first things that probably perked my interest about it, because I tend to research the heck out of different things to make sure I'm making the right choice. So that was the first thing, is for people who are kind of those book nerds like myself, it does help to at least look at those and see the resources out there for people who want that knowledge. The other thing, and I guess the other thing I tend to use, I'm starting to use more of it, is go to just the meetings that they have, because those can be very, very good, because if nothing else, it is nice to see just regular people, talking through either maybe they've had they're um, noticing some things happening during their transition, or they just want to talk about their stories or things that they've noticed other people, doing, incorporating. Those are all just very nice. And that leads me into kind of what I think the main benefit of the MeatRx platform is. The main benefit is that it creates a place for people to go, a community for people to go to get those resources, help, assistance, and in some ways feel that connection to other people that are trying this. Because one of the first things that, well, I want to say, intimidated me a little bit about going on the diet in the first place was it seemed like no one was doing it. And so when you have this feeling like yes, there's some like cachet about being kind of a maverick and being the first ones to try different things, but at the same time you don't want to feel completely alone, where like if you're either struggling with something, that there's no one who's going to be able to help you. And so in that respect, I think what MeatRx does, and what its real true benefit is that it provides a place for people to go to who are struggling with some other part of their diet, their nutrition, maybe struggling with health issues, and gives them some answers that they can look towards. And that in some ways that gives them a little bit of hope, that there's an alternative to what they've been hearing and what they've been noticing. And what is great, I think, about how it's run is that the coaches, the people on the podcasts, the people you might interact with, there's much more of like a normal person feel to it. Like you're talking to regular people who are just saying, yeah, I went through this kind of thing, and this really helped me. And once I did that, I noticed these issues started going away really, really well, and I noticed this, that, and the other happened to me. Versus in a lot of other, I want to say, dietary communities, it becomes very, I don't want to, stigmatize them and call them cultish, but there is very much a mentality that, you have to believe exactly what we say and don't you dare say anything else. Um, there's not that here, where in some ways it's like the results speak for themselves. We don't have to prove it to you. Like it's look at all these people that have tried it. Plenty of them certainly have their struggles transitioning, and a huge variety of backgrounds and people who came to this, and they can be real with you and say, yeah, I believed a lot of the same things you were going through, and hey, I tried it, it worked great for me. And certainly, as a coach or something, they would have the mentality of, let's just help this work for you. Let's try to make sure that you get healthy. And this is a one great approach that we have used with great success to make it work. So that, I think, is the main benefit of the whole MeatRx community.
I love that. That was beautifully put. Okay, so now guess what? Since you were a coach, you get to have a little bit of time to toot your own horn. So I want to know a little bit about your coaching style and what a client can expect from you.
Sure. So my approach really to coaching is that I never take a one size fits all approach. So, what I want to do first and foremost is, of course, get to know you. I want to get to know not just what health issues you've been suffering from, but really get to know, okay, what does your daily life look like? Because I think that aside from just trying to give you a blanket prescription of like, okay, we're going to cut off everything and you're going to eat steak for the next month. Hey, there are times and there are people that that's going to work for, and there are people that like you just need to give them a kick in the butt to basically get them going. But there are a lot of people that that's not going to work. And so what my whole strategy is, I want to tailor my message and my way of coaching you to best fit you. Which to me means that if you're really really struggling and really hesitant about doing this, I can work with you. I can, if you're struggling with your weight, great, I can help you. But at the same time, I want to also discuss like why you might be worried about your weight, because in some cases maybe weight isn't actually a problem for you. Maybe you just have a perception that it is. And in some cases, I don't want to, I don't want to basically address their concern while then somehow basically getting them all these other issues that they might have to deal with. Like for example, as a carnivore, fasting approach, the one thing I'm not going to do right off the bat is just say, we're going to put you on a fasting regimen right off the bat, whatever your issue is. Yes, that's a great tool and you can lose weight doing that. But I guarantee you, if we don't fix your nutrition first and we don't get you comfortable with eating good nutrition, eating till you're satiated, eating, high quality animal based products, one, you're going to start binging on cookies like the day after that fast ends. You are going to put on weight, and you're going to point the finger at me, and rightly so, for pointing you in that direction. And so the one thing I say about my approach is, I want to get to know you as much as I can, so that I can tailor my approach and tailor any recommendation I have to meet your needs, and to meet your goals, and be able to consistently follow up with you to make sure that it's working, and that if it isn't working, that you can come to me and let me know, hey, I'm having these issues. What do I do? Because being there for the client, I think is going to be very, very critical to make sure that they stay on track and they stay consistent. Because yes, there are plenty of people that are just self-motivated, and you basically, if you're a personal trainer, you give them a workout regimen, you come back 6 months later and they've been following that thing to a T. Other times, if you give them something, you have to be there for them. You have to, give them encouragement, motivation, all those things, and show them how to do everything to keep them on track. But my eventual goal, in some ways, is that you won't need me. That you will, that I will be that person who gets you to where you want to be, and can give you options for other resources and other things you can look at. If you're interested in more knowledge, that's great. I can show you some other resources there. If you're looking for, more community, great. Here's some, meetings and stuff that you can attend for support and things like that. All of those pieces. But eventually, if you don't have to come to me, and feel, and at the same time um, you have the knowledge that you need, and you don't feel you have to come to me, in some ways, I feel like I've done my job. Now, that of course doesn't mean like I'm just gonna shove all the information at you and then just drop off the map. That means I'm going to help you to where you feel comfortable kind of standing on your own 2 feet. In the same way, like if I was, helping a child, learn a new skill, I'm going to show them, I'm going to work them through the whole thing until they feel comfortable doing it on their own, and then just kind of let them do it. Now, and that, ironically, that same approach works. You have to do that, for adults as well, and for, just any type of thing I think you're training them in, is get them to where they feel comfortable doing it on themselves, and then once they do that, they become excited to do themselves, and they become more motivated, because then it becomes something that they own their own health. And that's, so in some ways, it's getting them to get comfortable to where they own their health in that respect, and then they don't need me anymore, and I can just be a resource if something else comes up.
I love that, Cameron. That's awesome. Okay, so y'all heard this. If you're looking for a coach, go check out Coach Cameron. And Cameron, thank you so very much for coming on and sharing your story.
All right, thank you so much.
Absolutely. You have a wonderful day. Bye, Cameron.
Bye.